I'm Jack Nichols and welcome to
Who's going to break Smith's world title?
Oh, he's done it! And look at these two go! He's going to do it! His first victory!
The World Championship is done.
What a race it's been!
Hello and welcome to Istanbul Park for the 7th round of the 2024 Formula SimRacing Academy Championship, the Turkish Grand Prix. Last time at Imola, Go Team Racing's Giuseppe Saracino put in a stellar performance to break a streak of misfortune and win his home race from his teammate Peter Knapp. Giuseppe Canzonieri took his first podium in third, whilst points leaders Dano Branfom and Cedric Bill were fourth and fifth. My name is Edward Hunter, and alongside me for qualifying and 41 laps of racing action is Antoni Nicpon. Antoni, we've got 4 races to go, and the top 4 in the standings are separated by just 8 points in one of the most open Academy Championships we've had so far this decade. Who has impressed you the most so far, and what challenges await the drivers today at this 5.3 kilometer circuit?
Hello Ed, it's great to be back in the Academy again. Definitely the most eventful of the series, I think, this year so far. It's been good so far, but to answer your question, to be honest with you, I think Dano Branfom has simply been on another level, but that's not to discount the rest of them either. You know, Canzonieri, Knapp, Bill, you know, they've all had their ups and downs this season, and, you know, 4 rounds to go. In such an inconsistent series, you know, I think it's going to be about who's the most consistent in all of this inconsistency.
Exactly, but it's not enough to be just consistent. You've got to be quick as well. Here's a reminder of those point standings. So Branfom being just ahead of Bill by 4 points. So he's extended that gap last time out by just finishing ahead of him at Imola. But otherwise, Bill has been closing in. And then there's Peter Knapp, of course, who finished second. He's after crashing out from Singapore, he's really got his season back underway with that second place. And then Canzonieri, who arguably one of the most consistent of all the drivers, he finished 4th for 3 races in a row, but finally went one better, got that Team GG car onto the podium for the first time this season. He's equal on points with Peter Knapp on 77. The rest of the top 10 being rounded out by Valets, Ruben van den Hudding, Saracino himself in 6th with his 2 wins and no other points finishes. Kostas Galamatis 7th for Netrex. Then Mateus Micah, he returns today. He's in 8th. Gresic Luxak is 9th. And Ground Effects Nando Massa rounds out the top 10.
Well then, I guess it's time to get into this action now with qualifying underway.
Oh, I'd very much like to.
Let's see then.
Just under 6 minutes left to go then. And here is the Istanbul Park circuit. Here we are about to see Galamatis pushes Netrex through turn 8, isn't it? With the sort of quadruple apex, essentially. It's such a long, constant radius left-hander before you go downhill into sort of the 9-10 chicane here, which sets you up for the back straight. And I believe it's the DRS zone. Remember, you have to be within 7/10 of the car in front during the race to get DRS. There it is.
Yeah, this is quite a special track, though, Ed, to be honest. It's a shame we don't see much more racing here in real life, but even, I believe, was it last year or 2 years ago, we had quite a good round here.
Last time I think it was used was for the preseason championship in 2023.
Yeah, the preseason championship, exactly. I think we had a good race here. Though I'm not sure a lot of people will be recalling that one, to be honest with you.
The only reason I remember it is I had to use footage of it for the season preview that year. But yeah, because we had a new car coming out, and we've since seen many very, very interesting, exciting races with it as we see Galamatis start his lap. But as you said, Branfom is the one setting the timing screen alight. 31.4 in the first sector. Here he is through turn 8, and we ride on board as he exits the Super Swede, leading the championship, looking to extend his advantage over Cedric Bill and Branfom. He's had some very, very strong performances this season, of course, winning in Singapore, and he's had quite a few other podiums and high points finishes as well. But a couple of rounds, like a Silverstone was a little bit of a struggle for him, for instance. And this is in some ways a similar track to Silverstone with a lot of fast corners. And we see in this final sector, this sort of where it tightens up a bit through 12, 13, and 14, which are essentially these 90-degree corners as he now goes onto the start-finish line. Branfom, who wasn't quite as quick in the middle sector, but this should still be a pretty decent lap. And indeed, it puts him just 500 shy of Kostas Gallinamartis, then the Greek driver in the Netrex, clobbering plenty of curb there as he completes the lap then. So easy in this sort of low-speed final sector to just spin up the rear tyres, isn't it, Antoni? And just see the lap time ebb away. Whoa!
Yeah, whoa.
It's Micah.
Well, yeah, he's probably not going to be finishing that one, as Gerlof de Vries now, the driver who's actually gone down from Pro. I'm not sure what you've heard about that, Ed.
Yes, so he was not getting particularly great results in Pro, was the Dutch driver Gerlof de Vries. So Evo have decided he would be better off learning a few more things in Academy. And to his credit, Gerlof has been pretty accommodating with that. So it's interesting with drivers because we see a couple of times drivers in World Championship move down to Pro and sort of do quite well in Pro as well. But it's not often you see a driver move down from Pro back, not back to Academy. I don't think Gerlof has any Academy experience. I think he jumped straight into Pro and found himself kind of in the deep end a little bit with a lot to learn. And he was always a little bit off the pace of his teammates. This could be a good step for him, and in a less demanding environment. Let's not that the people at the front of Academy are slow or anything, but certainly the Academy, it's more, I would say, the entry level this season. So I think Gerlof could well come out looking a little bit more, getting slightly better results and improving his confidence, and also learning a bit more in Academy rather than just finishing several laps down or one or two laps down in Pro.
Yeah, not too lucky from him this season for sure.
That certainly plays his part too, you're right. This is Canzonieri then, fresh off of that first podium for Team GG. And he really seems to be on something of a roll at the moment. He's sort of got into this championship battle via stealth, I think it's fair to say. He had some strong performances. Remember, he was running second for quite a long time in Singapore before he binned it. And a couple of other races where he was threatened to get on the podium, but ended up falling just short due to strategy or various different factors. But there we go. He goes 8th fastest, just ahead of Micah, who, as you saw earlier, hasn't changed since he's been away. Still just absolutely putting everything on the line and often going a little bit beyond the track limits in the process. But Gallinamartis, that lap earlier, has really put him in good stead. So the Sol Netrex really on the 124.79. He is the fastest out there at the moment with just 1 minute left to go.
Yeah, they haven't had that good of a season, Netrex, so far. It's actually surprising to see them up here. But, I mean, given the circumstances of this race, Ed, in some way, this kind of is reminiscent to the real-life F1 race that was here in 2020. There simply isn't that much grip on this track, There was some real roads, some grip issues related to this track. And that also means, and this is going to be interesting for the race, for the strategies as well, the grip won't be building over the race either. It's going to be static for the duration of the race, which will surely mix things up. And I'm wondering if you think this could have also had an effect on the actual qualifying today as well, in some way.
Yeah, it is interesting. So Gallinamartis, who usually qualifies to the lower end of the top 10, races fairly well as well. Remember, he is 7th in the points, sort of those who haven't won any races. He's kind of best of the rest. That 3rd place in Singapore, his best result of the season so far. As you ride on board with Peter Knapp, who has set a very good first sector, a little bit slower in the middle. But let's see, the final sector is really where the time can be won and lost here. Across the line he comes, and Peter Knapp falls just short, actually, and that is it. So Peter Knapp will not snatch pole position away from Gallinamartis. So we are about to see him take his first pole of the season, I suspect, unless Cedric Bill has anything to say about it. Micah has gotten his Hyperion into the top 5 ahead of Nandor Massa. They have a 125.0, so good recovery there from Mateusz Micah, of course, the Polish driver. But here comes Bill, the Frenchman, through 13, 14, and 15 now. Just got to tidy together these apexes. It's looking like a very, very solid first 2 sectors for him. Personal best. So let's see if he can get himself into the top 10 here. Is he crossing the line? No, falling just short behind Chris Gitsov in 12th position. Then as we cut to Filin making his return, the second of our Super Swedes. 7th at the moment, but looking very, very solid in the first sector. And he'll be the last to cross the line, Antoni.
Yeah, and I think he timed this to perfection. I mean, he started his final lap a good 30 seconds after pretty much everyone else has managed to.
Ooh.
Not that it's going to benefit him with the grip file being static for the session, but where will that put him? Probably not that much of an improvement. Indeed.
Nope, not at all. So Luca Filin remains 7th then. About 10th off of his best time. And that is your grid set. So let's look at how it's shaped out, because it's a little bit mixed up with Kostas Galnamatis, a superb first lap. He didn't need to do any better than a 1:24.79. That puts him on pole position. So big opportunity for the Greek driver to score big and potentially, who knows, get himself into that championship mix. He is about 39 points down on Brandholm in the championship lead, which is quite a gap, but we have still got 4 races to go. Peter Knapp is alongside him on the front row, just 66,000 shy of pole position. Then Massimiliano Riboli is 3rd ahead of his teammate Dano Brandholm. So that will be interesting. I wonder how long Riboli is going to stay in front of Brandholm. Micah is 5th ahead of Nandor Marsa in the ground effect. Then it is Luca Filin in 7th ahead of his teammate Oliver Taras. Giuseppe Canzonieri just sneaks into the top 10 in 9th, which is rounded out, of course, by Ruben van den Hudding. Chris Gitsov is 11th ahead of the man 2nd in the points, Cedric Bill. He'll be looking to gain a few places. Domenico Scarpelli qualifies pretty well in 13th ahead of Sander van Leeuwen for LR Conquest. Gerlof de Vries on his first appearance in Academy is 15th for Evo ahead of Perseus Miram. Then it is Luca Viscott, 17th for LR Conquest ahead of Olivier Demoliens. Davide Zanini is 19th for Team GG. And then the top 20 round out by Mihailo Vincentijevic. Thomas Andrew Miharizoa is 21st on the grid ahead of Hayden Cownan. Our very own Terry Crawford, the Australian, in 23rd for SimSpark. Just behind him is Michael Dela Cruz and Louis Smith for RBG.
Well, it just goes to show to you, Ed, the top 21 within 1.5 seconds. This doesn't sound like a lot, but for Academy, I don't think it's ever been this close, you know? This is a really mixed up session. I mean, we have Netrex on pole. I mean, I don't even know what to say, honestly. That was quite a session for Academy.
Yeah, it seems in low grip scenarios, Galnamatis, I think, if you remember the Melbourne race, there's me and Joshua Bircher commentating on that one. There was a moment early on that race where Galnamatis went through that 1-2 chicane and the back end was just absolutely hanging out and he was somehow able to save it. And we were praising his car control. And Istanbul Park can really be a driver's circuit. There's a lot of corners where you really just have to hold on to the car. Turn 8 being a classic example. But turns 3 and 4 can be quite tight as well, because they're sort of, you have a high speed of entry to them. But yeah, here is, of course, the rest of the season we got ahead of us. After today at Turkey, we've got Spa-Francorchamps on the 16th of June in 2 weeks' time. Then we got Circuit of the Americas, the United States. That's going to be round 9 on the 14th of July, just a month away. Then our season finale is going to be in Japan on the 4th of August. And I have a feeling, with the points being so tight, it could well go down to the wire in Academy. And as I said in the intro, I think the most recent Academy Championship that went to the final round was 2021, when Damien Scovron beat Cosmo Basciuto by about 20 points. So otherwise they've all been wrapped up a couple of rounds early. Thomas Smith sewed it up by Monza, which was, I think, 3 rounds early last season. But he of course was probably the exception, because he won 5 races in a row or something ridiculous like that.
It just goes to show you, Ed, though, honestly. It's like you were saying, you know, with Dano Brandholm, the championship leader, with him having an off round, finishing P7 in Silverstone. But in a series where everyone is so inconsistent, you're still ironing it out, you know, your driving skills, your racecraft, you know. The fact that Brandholm, his worst result is a 7th, he's missed a round, and he's still leading the championship. You know, the championship is so rewarding to drivers with so much experience like him. Otherwise, you could have argued that people like Peter Knapp, for example, who have, 2 wins, 1 P2, 1 P10, 1 round missed, and 1 DNF, you know. People like this could have probably been leading as well, you know. People like Saracino have such great pace. Micah, you know. The priorities of these series just simply change, you know. I think you could argue, I'm not sure if you agree, Ed, but you could probably win this championship just consistently running in the top 5 every race without winning a race.
Well, that's what Canzonieri certainly seems to be doing at the moment, although I'm sure he would not object to a win or two in the process, even if it comes by accident. But you can't win by accident in this series, that's for sure. But yeah, Peter Knapp, that DNF in Singapore, of course, there was a bit of contact from Davide Zanini involved in that one. So I think Peter might not feel that's entirely fair to pin all the blame for him for that big 0 there. But nonetheless, it's not too late to recover, and we have got a race coming up with Galna Martis leading the field away on the formation lap at the present moment. So this could be a very, very big day for Netrex. Let's go through the grid order. The front row, Galna Martis and Peter Knapp alongside him. Then it's an all-valet row 2 of Riboli and Dano Branfholm, the points leader. How long is Riboli going to stay in for before he lets Branfholm through? Mateus Micah on his return is 5th, ahead of Nandor Marsa on row 3. Row 4, Luca Filin and Oliver Taras, all Optimal eSports, row 4. Row 5, Giuseppe Canzonieri and Ruben van den Hudding in the third of our valets. Valet number 4, Chris Gitsov leads Cedric Bill on row 6. Row 7, Domenico Scarpelli ahead of Sander van Leeuwen. Then on row 8, it's Gerlof de Vries and Perseus Miram. Row 9, Lucas Viscott ahead of Olivia Demolians. Then on row 10, it's Davide Zanini and Mihailo Vincentijevic. Row 11, Thomas Andrew Miharizoa ahead of Hayden Kaunen. Then on row 12, it's Terry Crawford ahead of Michael De La Cruz. And that, of course, is all 12 rows that we got to look forward to. That is all 24 drivers then. So Galna Martis then, how does he play this, Antoni? Because Peter Knapp fighting for the championship, trying to gain points on both Branfholm and Cedric Bill, who both start behind him. Is he going to fight Galna Martis too hard, or do you think, like we saw in Imola, he's going to be content to just bank second? Although in this case, he's not fighting with a teammate. That's a separate teammate ahead of him in the form of Netrex.
I mean, if you look at this from a championship perspective, he should be more than happy with the P2 and just keep those results up, keep it consistent. But I mean, honestly, Ed, you know, as someone who's probably raced himself as well, can you ever be content with P2? He's going to go for the win. He's going to go for the win. And as all of these guys are, maybe not Riboli. I just know someone like Riboli will do everything for the team. And I think we can expect Branfholm to get past him quite quickly to maximize their championship fights. But we have how many laps of racing in front of us where
41.
all of this... Exactly. A lot of this could change now. So, as the final car lines up slowly in De La Cruz.
De La Cruz looked like he was about to put it on the grass there, warming up the tyres.
We're about to see the combination of academy drivers in low grip conditions.
Yep, and that turn 1 beckons, doesn't it? As Galna Martis looks hungrily at the apex. Then the lights are about to switch on, and when they do, we will be getting the Turkish Grand Prix in Academy underway. Then Peter Knapp on the left, Costas Galna Martis on the right. And the lights still yet to... And there we go. They're off. The Turkish Grand Prix is underway, and already somebody at the back has not got going, and a front wing has gone flying then. I think Perseus Miram has got caught up in that with Hayden Kaunen. But up front, Galna Martis gets a brilliant getaway ahead of Peter Knapp then, as we see, as that Filin getting past Mateus Micah, and now having a go at Riboli, who has immediately switched positions with Dano Branfholm. And look at Micah around the outside, or making contact with Luca Filin through 3 and 4. There we go. Looks like Micah has been able to muscle his way back through. And now look, that's the ground effect of Marsa having a go at Gitsov there and getting it all wrong through turn 7 there, and then having to back off around the outside as they go into turn 8 then. So Nando Marsa had a little attempted move diving up the inside there, but it didn't quite pan out for the Hungarian.
Yes, now Kanzanieri right behind him as well. We're seeing a lot of moves being made early on here.
Oh,
no.
Spins off the track. Oh, there at the sort of turn 9 and 10 chicane there. He was trying to sort of get offline to get up the inside of Nando Marsa, and it completely backfired on him there. So Kanzanieri falls to 22nd position as Micah has got his hands well and truly full of Riboli, who he's just gotten past now. So Micah's up to 4th and now right behind Dano Bramfom. So we've got 3 very, very quick drivers now, all lined up behind Galina Martis, all challenging for this race win now.
Exactly. But you can see in the rear already, these cars, they seem to be really rear happy, to say the least. I think this is going to catch out a lot of cars, not just Kanzanieri here. I don't think this is a one-off occurrence.
No, certainly not. As we see De Vries, banging into the side of Luca Viscots, and into the gravel he goes. So Gerlof De Vries not making places and certainly not making friends out there in his first appearance in Academy, unfortunately, as Demolians and Vincentievich, I think, are both in the pit lane. In the case of Vincentievich, it's to retire his LR Conquest car.
Yeah, already quite a chaotic start. To be honest, Ed, no clue what happened there at the start. I think when it calms down, we're going to have to see who that was who potentially lost his front wing. But right off the start already. Oh, what's that in the background?
Oh, that looks like Zanini in trouble, and Taras too. Yeah, Taras off the track there, so he spun it on the exit of turn 8, I think. And potentially he's hit the barrier too.
It is Taras. He's lucky to get away with no damage there. As Micah is making some moves up to P3. He's already up. Is it 2 or 3 positions from his...
Yeah, he's passed both the valets, hasn't he? And despite that contact with Filin, he's recovered brilliantly well, hasn't he? With that another move into turn 12. But Brandfom isn't done yet. He's going to try and fight back into turn 1 here. Brandfom still currently close enough to take advantage of DRS if he can keep this distance when they get to the back straight. But Micah is disappearing like a scalded cat at the moment. He's already focused on Peter Knapp ahead of him, who is still just out of DRS range of Galina Martis, who is managing things fantastically well at the front. All the top 4 on the medium tires, by the way. Riboli, no wonder he let Brandfom through. He's on the hards, as is Van den Hudding, Marsa as well in 9th, and Van Leeuwen in 10th.
Yeah, I'm wondering, are we going to have a great wall of Riboli happening now to to maximize everything for Brandholm here?
I think that's not outside of the realm of possibilities here, which is bad news indeed for Luca Filin then, who would hope to get up with his Swedish countryman Brandholm in that fight for the podium positions. But now could find himself not able to take advantage of those medium tyres if he's not got the gap in which to play with. He's still half a second behind Riboli, so well within DRS range, but Riboli, that valet does seem to have straight line speed in all 4 instances that's being used into 4 drivers. But there is Marsa just pulling out to the left on Gitsov into turn 12 to try and put pressure on him. But Gitsov, the Bulgarian, not really fazed by that too much.
Indeed. Turns out the game was muted.
Not again. It's Singapore all over again. Great. But
we got an exciting race in the end, didn't we? In Singapore.
We did,
so
yes.
Maybe we should keep the game muted if it's anything to go by.
Well, I guess we'll have to do a replay of the start now, won't we, at some point? But there, Brandholm holding station behind Micah. He's not quite close enough to really mount a challenge on the previous lap. But last lap times then, 1:28.7 for Galina Martis. Knapp, though, has gone purple in the first sector, a tenth quicker than the Greek driver ahead of him. So Peter Knapp is very much matching Galina Martis and eking closer and closer to DRS range, as Micah still 2 tenths ahead of Brandholm. And this here is Van den Hudding, who now Filin is being slowed down by Riboli effectively. It's sort of drawing him into the path of Rupert Van den Hudding, who has finished on the podium before this season is top 5 in the standings on 56 points, with podiums at Hockenheim and Silverstone, of course. So Van den Harding could well be a major threat if anything happens to those up front. And look at this, Brandholm diving back up the inside of Micah into turn 12. Micah leaves plenty of space. Saw that one coming from a long way back.
No chance for a switch back there. There was quite some overspeed from Brandholm, who will now be looking, probably the most consistent, the most, if I may say so myself, the most clever driver out of these. Just so many years of experience in the academy, knows exactly how to maneuver through this. I'm sure he won't be taking any stupid risks here. He's going to be taking this one lap at a time, try to catch up to the back of these guys and potentially get them on strategy here.
Yeah, look at Peter Knapp. He looks much closer then. Just half a second now behind the back of Costas Galnamatis. So the Netrex driver will have to be smart here, because once that DRS opens, Knapp will be well and truly upon him. And the impetus is on him to respond then. So these mediums, it seems that nobody decided to gamble on the subs. So it'll be interesting to see how long the mediums last compared to the hard tyres, and also whether the mediums are giving better grip than the hards, especially as the race goes on with the relatively low grip. It's 85% real road, I think, that it's permanently stuck on today. So it'll be interesting to see the Academy fielders, as always, the guinea pigs for the Pro and World Championship later on.
Yeah, I'm sure the WC and Pro drivers will be watching this with great interest, this race. As
defensive from Galnamatis then, immediately going to the inside, but could that compromise his exit here as they go through the last couple of corners, 13 and 14? And Knapp is just being steady, just biding his time, waiting for the right moment. But the problem is Brandholm has started to up his pace and is now just 2/10 quicker than Peter Knapp. He was 3/10 quicker the previous lap then, as we see Filin starting to get a little bit frustrated then behind Riboli here. And of course he hasn't got his teammate Taras to help him out. Taras still down in 21st, trying to catch up to the back of the pack after his excursion off track early on.
Indeed, but they are getting held up. Thailand's definitely being held up here. I mean, the fact that Van den Harding is able to give some pressure on the back of him, despite the harder compound here as well, this is going to be something that's going to be unfolding quite interestingly,
Yeah,
but also
unfortunately,
the fact,
we just lost Davide Zanini from the running, Antoni, so that's one of our Team GGs out of the race.
What has happened there to Davide Zanini then? Let's have a look at a potential replay.
I'm going to guess he's crashed out somewhere, because that seems to be a running theme with Davide.
Oh, he's lost connection.
Disconnected, so I stand corrected.
Wow.
Davide.
Wow,
like the boy who cried wolf. The one time he didn't mess up, it was the connection that let him down there.
I can't believe you're stereotyping academy drivers here, Ed.
I know, it's so cruel, isn't it? Oh, look at that. And that's that looks like Viscott, I think. No, Van Leeuwen, sorry. Trying to make a move on Gitsov. He got a little bit alongside into turn 12, but Gitsov cut across. And that is allowing Massa to escape up the road on his hard tyres ahead of both of them and get into this Van den Harding Filin Riboli fight, essentially. As Luca Filin has got no option really, because there's no opening. Riboli, as you said, the Great Wall of Riboli seems to stand fairly tall here, and Filin needs to find a ladder or something to get himself over it.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. The Great Wall of Riboli. Playing into Daniel Brandholm's hands perfectly. And I'm pretty sure Micah, Knapp, Galnamatis, they won't be complaining about this either. Giving them a lot more breathing room on potential undercutters from behind.
And I think Van Leeuwen hit trouble because he's dropped down to 15th position, just inside the points, but he's only just ahead of De Vries now, so I assume there must have been either more contact with Gitsov or he went off on his own, because now it's showing Viscott in the top 10 instead of him.
Indeed, we'll have a look at that in a second as well, but Thailand here seems to have a better run this time around, though Riboli did seem to have a good exit, but he has the overspeed this time around.
Oh, and Knapp has taken the lead ahead of them as well, but Filin now pulls to the outside at turn 12, has to make sure he's enough alongside, and goes all the way around the outside of Massimiliano Riboli. Superbly judged move there. Oh, as he lights up the rear tyres on exit there. And now Filin finds himself at the head of the train, and needs to pull away to make sure the DRS does not end up being used against him here. But a superb move.
Well done to him, as we'll look now, see the move that Peter Knapp made for the lead here.
Yeah, you can see
From
Gallimatis
quite a
trying to
while
break
back.
the toe early on, isn't he? But there, Peter Knapp just slots himself to the inside and takes the lead. And that could well be him on his way to his third win of the season. As we see Gallimatis trying to respond around the outside, but unfortunately not finding the grip he needs. And the Networks driver gets shuffled back to second position, as this is what befell poor Sander van Leeuwen. Then for LR Conquest, just lights up the rear tyres over the curb at turn 1, and he's facing the wrong way, just avoided by his teammate Viscott. As now we can see through the car very briefly.
Yeah, track is does seem to be special today. You know, both the grip, some of the cars disappearing, but
Must be all that X-ray paint laid down.
yeah, I'm not sure what cameras they have in Turkey, but
The invisible car. Yeah, it's like the Aston Martin from one of those James Bond movies that contain invisibles. Look at this, Massa now looking to the outside, but switches to the inside where there's plenty more space. Just to keep the pressure on Massimiliano Riboli now that he's cleared Chris Gitsov. As we see behind, this is Cedric Bill trying to make progress past Luka Viscott. He's alongside then through the last two corners and setting up, I think, his run through the final one and onto the back straight here. So Viscott not having to do too much to defend, just holding his line. And Cedric Bill, who's gained a place from where he started, now looking for a second one, seems to be doing a steady job in these tricky conditions.
indeed, but it's not looking good for his championship. Fighting for P10 while Brandtholm, Knapp having the races that they are.
That's true, but he could be down in where Canzonieri is outside the points right now. So, I mean, it's not a total disaster for him, and there's still plenty of laps left to go in which he can potentially try something on strategy, but he is on the mediums. It's not like he can run long. So him and Gitsov are sort of in a pretty unenviable position behind three hard tyre runners who are going to run pretty long into this race now.
Indeed. They'll have this train going on here, though. You'd think Thailand will be able to get away from this, but I think the main person who seems to be on a roll right now is Nandor Marsa. Had quite a bit of a run last time around, but Van den Hutting is actually catching up a little bit. He had a bit of a run last time around, just not quite working out. As Viscott goes for a late one. Oh,
that's on Scarpelli as well. I thought it was on one of his teammates there, but they're all behind him. So yeah, Viscott late on the brakes and having to sort of collect things up at the apex there. But Scarpelli's not going to be intimidated, or is he? Because into turn 1 we go. Viscott gets the overspeed into the first corner, slots himself up the inside, and into 11th position he goes. So good move, good commitment there from Luka Viscott.
you don't usually see those moves into turn 1, especially with no DRS, the short straight. Quite a good move there to be had.
Interesting looking at the lap times. So Peter Knapp on the 129.3s, Gallimatis and Brandtholm 129.9s respectively. Then Micah in the 136s. He's not having as good a time on those medium tyres, and he's actually 3 tenths slower than Phylan behind him. So Phylan is only 2.8 seconds behind, and Micah is dropping further and further away from Dano Brandtholm, which is not what he would have wanted at this stage.
No, he wouldn't. As we go to the straight that seems to have all the action today.
He's the DRS straight, and Phylan can't quite break away. But look at this, Marsa fancies another go at Riboli, who's already let 2 of his teammates pass. So Riboli always seems to qualify a little bit better than he races. He's kind of the Jarno Trulli of the Academy this season, unfortunately, in that sense. But now Marsa, as you say, making good progress in these early phases, has got a good opportunity to get into the top 7 here. And if we look at Marsa's season so far, he was 4th in Bahrain, not quite matched that since. He was 6th in Singapore and 9th last time out at San Marino. So as we see Van den Hutting try to go around the outside at turn 3 on Phylan, but Phylan shuts the door, leaves not quite enough space, actually gets himself over the curb there. So Van den Hutting now has got a chance to intimidate his way back through here and get well and truly into the DRS zone as these four continue their duel, as it looks like Viscott has crashed out of the race.
What has happened there? Lucas Viscott, what? No way, he was running well as well. What happened to him? Let's have a look here.
He's going uphill into turn 3, gets a little bit on the curb. Does the rear leg go?
No.
Oh, it's very similar to what we saw De Vries do, but and upside down. And the front completely destroyed, the wheel off, race over for Luca Viscott and LR Conquest. And that's a sight we've seen all too often for Luca Viscott this season.
Yeah, not something you quite want to be doing, flipping your car.
And Van den Hudding
the first one
up
to
the
lose it
inside
there
then
either.
at Filin for 5th. So Luca Filin failing to break away, and now the mediums have started to fade in terms of performance. That means that Van den Hudding has been able to use the DRS to sieve his way back past. Marsa, though, continues to chase Riboli, and you can sense a little bit of frustration, both of them on the same compound attire. And now that Filin is weak, Marsa really wants to get into this battle, but Riboli is preventing that from happening, as we see Miriam being passed by Hayden Cownan, but Cownan, tries to go into the pits, hesitates, and Miriam is already up the inside of him, so a race into the pit lane.
Well, didn't expect to see that, did you, Ed?
And it's Cedric Bill who's been the first to pull the trigger, actually, and pit on from the hards onto... has he gone medium to medium? I think he has.
He has.
Unless the timing screen's wrong there. So
No,
that would
he
suggest a two-stop,
is.
definitely. Which is quite surprising, but it is quite early to pit. A lot of the medium runners seem to be extending near the front of the field.
Indeed. But the pit delta is quite short here. It's only 19 seconds. And to be honest, looking at some of these strategies we saw, even in Singapore, sometimes the meta in Academy is simply to stay away from other cars. No way.
Under threat, they're going to go 3 wide into turn 12 as Riboli goes through. Marsa tries to follow through, now tries to go around the outside of Massimiliano Riboli, but the door is locked well and truly, so he'll have to wait again. And into the pits comes Filin then. So I wonder how much longer till Micah, Brandfolm, Galamatis and Nap respond to this now. Nap has pulled out a good lead over Galamatis, 2.5 seconds.
Indeed, that's going to keep him safe, potentially, from any sort of undercut. So he goes onto the hards.
Yeah, I think Optimal might be risking it and going onto a one-stop here, whereas it looked to me like Bill had committed himself to 2 sets of mediums and maybe 1 set of hards later on. Which is interesting. Usually Cedric Bill is one of the ones who favours the one-stop, or doing 1 less stop than everyone else at least. As you see, Micah is out of the race. Oh no. The tale is old as time. Micah, he either finishes second or he fails to finish.
Oh, this happened to... Yeah, is not Micah. Here's Micah now.
Oh, surely he's not about to drop it into turn 7, is he? Goes to the outside. Turns in. No! It looks like a disconnection then. And a very sudden one, unless he hit the escape key or something. Because that looked... there was no warning of that one whatsoever.
Maybe a power cut of some sort. Who knows, but he'll be severely disappointed, when it's not him taking care of his own DNF. Seems to be outside factors for him, unfortunately, as that is now his 4th DNF of the season.
Yep.
Unlucky for him.
Although that's nothing on Luca Viscott, who's got 5 DNFs this season now with his latest retirement. So it's all relative, I guess, is if you want to put a positive spin on it, as we watch Marsa continuing to shadow Massimiliano Riboli in what is now the fight for 5th position, as into the pits comes Andrimi Harizoa from just outside the top 10 then. So that promotes Canzonieri into 10th.
Yeah, it looks like the medium runners are slowly starting to all get in there, with only pretty much the top 3 and... yeah, I think only the top 3 and Gitsov haven't gone in on the mediums. I think Cedric Bill has already gone in. So,
he has, yeah.
Unfortunately for him, though, he is stuck behind Lucas Viscott. Sorry, not Lucas Viscott, who is out.
Lucas Filin, the other Lucas.
Yes.
But yeah, Cedric is lapping in the 128.9s. The leader is in the 130. Nap is in the 130 zeros. Gallimatis 130.3. Down at Brandfeld 130.9. I wonder if Brandfeld might be coming in soon because his mediums of the top three look the worst. I was wondering who would respond first. I didn't think it'd be Micah being disconnected would be his response, but here we go. Marsa finally close enough with the DRS, looks to the outside as they approach turn 12. The ground effect is going to sweep across. Is Ruboli going to be able to disappear in time? Forces Marsa to go the more circuitous route and is able to slot himself back through. So good defense from Ruboli, but Marsa gets brave on the exit there and almost goes off track into the runoff there and has to concede to the Valets. Peter Knapp pits from the lead.
Indeed, he does. Where will he come out? Wasn't really looking at the gaps. Oh, another one going
Bill
side by
Phylan,
side,
isn't it? So Phylan not willing to give up without a fight. Of course, he's on the slower compounder tire though, where Cedric Bill on the mediums. Only
Again.
3 laps altered. There's only a 2-lap difference between them in terms of tire lives. That's why Cedric Bill is just all over him at the moment. But yeah, Marsa will have to have another go at passing Ruboli, and there could be big points for him and Grand Effect if he can pass Ruboli, but if he can't, then he could find himself in reach of the pack behind. Peter Knapp, interestingly, has gone for the soft tyre from the mediums, so that he's definitely on a 2-stop there.
Yeah, but, you know, given the fact that there is no grip building over the race, God knows how those hearts, you know, are performing. If you're someone like Peter Knapp, who has that pace advantage, who has that clean air for the most part, though, now he will have to make way of Chris Gitsov, as he does. Wow, that is an unorthodox place to get that one done.
Yeah, they had to go side by side at that tight right-hand kink just before the DRS zone as Kostas Gallimatis goes into the pits along with Dano Brandfarm then. So that is interesting. That guarantees that Brandfarm will come out behind Gallimatis then, as looks like Gallimatis is going to go for another set of the mediums. Brandfarm, I think, might be doing likewise as well. There is Peter Knapp then. He's easily going to undercut both of them as Scarpelli also comes into the pits as well.
Brandfarm also on the mediums once again. I think that's loaded in correctly.
Yeah, so the Cedric Bill strategy here, interestingly, seems to be the one to be on. And Cedric Bill, now he's past Phylan. He's only about 5 seconds behind Brandfarm on the road, so he's gained a fair bit of time with that undercut. But unfortunately, the tyre wear could come back to bite him later in the race.
Indeed. It seems... Yeah, that undercut that Knapp has gotten on those. The gap before the pits from him to Gallimatis, 2.5 seconds. Look at that gap now. I mean, he will definitely, Gallimatis and Brandfarm, they're going to be hoping that these hard runners are going to keep him behind, you know, especially with this train where they all have the DRS into the main overtaking spot.
Oh, look at this, though. Knapp immediately ran the outside of Master, and there's very, very little resistance because he's just an absolute rocket ship on those soft tyres at the moment, of course. We'll have to see how long they last, obviously, at this pace, but there might be some conserving going on later as Master's had enough. Into the pits he comes, along with Van and Hudding, so it's only Ruboli that's staying out then. Big surprise the hard tyre runners are in so early, Antoni.
Yeah, I think I have to take back my words because Snap has gotten past Ruboli into turn 1. That is quite a pace advantage those softs seem to have right now.
Yeah, and Gitsov was also able to get 16 laps out of the mediums, interestingly. So he was the latest to pit as Massa exits then in what looks like is going to be 9th position. So he has come out still ahead of Chris Gitsov, and potentially he's going to undercut Ruboli here as well. So this is good strategy from Ground Effect on the alternate strategy, I guess. But here comes Brandfarm then. He's going to go up the inside of Van Leeuwen, who is yet to visit the pit lane on the hard tyres. And yeah, that's like taking candy from a baby there into turn 7. There was nothing that Van Leeuwen could do to keep him at bay as Knapp sets the fastest lap of the race, unsurprisingly, 128.6. But it's Gallimatis that sets the fastest first sector, 32.9, which is 3/10 quicker than Knapp. So has Knapp already started to try and conserve the tyre life for later in this stint?
I mean, you'd think you have to. if he let those mediums last, how long was it? 14, 15 laps? You'd at least want 11 or 12 laps out of those softs.
And look at
Especially
this.
with the grip not building.
Paris having more
There he
issues
goes.
at turn 8 then, and Canzonieri gets through into 13th position then. So Canzonieri slowly but surely fighting his way back up the order. But after being right behind Filin on the first lap, he's still finding himself in the sort of lower end of the points, which is not where he really wanted to be. A little bit of inexperience showing, I think, for Canzonieri as Ruboli and Van Leeuwen visit the pit lane.
Yeah, I think he's going to come out somewhere around in front of Chris Gitsov, if I'm not wrong. Will it be tight here?
We'll have to see. Ruboli's come out a couple of seconds behind Massa. There we go. There's Nando Massa ahead of him. And as you say, Gitsov is about 5 seconds in a rear. So not a great outlap for Chris Gitsov as we look at Van Leeuwen, who's come out right behind Gerlof de Vries then. So de Vries pit on lap 12 for another set of mediums and is already starting to struggle a little bit because Van Leeuwen was trying to dive out the inside at turn 4 from a long, long way back. And de Vries, understandably, just cut him off there.
He's got some momentum on those fresh tires. But de Vries, I don't know, he hasn't seemed to have found his running, his feeling yet in the academy so far. But if there's one thing as a pro driver he'll have above the rest of this field is the fact that he does have that racecraft. He is quite an experienced driver as well. So even if he might not have the pace against some of these guys, he definitely has the consistency and the survival instincts that make for a successful academy driver.
That's very, very true. Despite the incident where I think it was, it might have been Van Leeuwen or Viscott on the first lap actually, but Van Leeuwen using the DRS goes right up the inside, but very, very deep into turn 12 and almost collects Gerlof de Vries on exit there. But de Vries was just trying to show his nose around the outside to try and get back around, but unfortunately there was no way through. And now Canzonieri has got a clear run at the Evo driver.
Indeed. Looks like
Massa sets fastest lap of the race, surprisingly. 128.4, so a tenth quicker than Peter Knapp on the softs in the lead. With a brilliant first sector, 32.8. Fastest first sector of the race, of course. So he's 1 second behind Filin. So Filin could have his mirrors very, very full of the purple ground effect machine.
Yeah, as they go into one of the most iconic sections, you should say.
It's one of the most demanding on the tyres
world
as well. Look how much the left front, how much punishment the left front is put through turn 8 with the quadruple apex. Here comes Massa then into 9 and 10, across into the kink of 11 and onto the DRS zone he comes. Surely he's going to have a great run at the optimal of Luca Filin. Filin tries to duck out of the slipstream to the outside. And Nando Massa says, thank you very much. I'll take that 6th position now. So Massa,
oh no!
Scarpelli, and he's facing the wrong way out of the DRS zone. Thankfully, everyone scatters to avoid him there. But that's 3 or 4 positions that Domenico Scarpelli has sacrificed there. I think he just got too far on the curb, Antoni.
Well, we're about to find out what has happened. How could that happen there? Good run on Chris Gitsov here. Oh, he just loses the rear. Lucky not to collect that car as well. But quite a good save, to be honest. If the field wasn't so close, but those tires aren't going to be screaming now after such a spin.
Yeah, it does remind me a lot of Max Verstappen's spin at this race in 2020 in real life. But that was, of course, in mixed wet-dry conditions on intermediates that have been out a very long time at that point. So, but anyway, up front, Peter Knapp continues to manage the gap to Gannon Lamartis. He was a tenth slower the previous lap, but it's 4.8 seconds separate the two. But Gannon Lamartis, he's not given up just yet. As look at this, Filin has hit trouble as well. So this has not been a good lap for Optimal eSports because all 3 of their drivers in difficulties and outside of the top 12 at the moment, or about to be anyway.
That was super weird. What happened to Lucas Thailand there?
He's just got no confidence in grip at the moment.
Yeah. You'd think he was the one who who messed up his tires here, but that is unorthodox, to say the least.
And look at this, Van Leeuwen has passed Gitsov for 8th position then, so one of our LR Conquest cars having a very, very good race actually in the form of Van Leeuwen from where he qualified outside of the top 10. He's been able to claw his way back in, even though those around him have been losing their heads really. And Van Leeuwen now has got 7 seconds now to make up to Riboli to challenge for P7 as De Vries loses the back end into turn 1. And Scarpelli is going to be back up the inside then as they approach turn 3. De Vries tries to shut the door, but a little bit too late, has to concede there. And Scarpelli back into the top 12 then.
Indeed, going from bad to worse for Gerlof De Vries, unfortunately, but still time to turn it around, only midway into this race. But not looking too promising for him.
Yeah, he's
so
another of those on the
medium
medium strategy, isn't he? And he sort of undercut to gain positions, which is why he's having to fight with a lot of these guys at the moment. His battle really is for those final couple of positions, isn't it? Really, with the likes of Taras and Miram.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, just not working out for him today. One of those days, I guess.
Yeah, certainly that's the case. But Canzonieri continues his recovery. He's now ahead of all 3 Optimal eSports cars and challenging Gitsov. Pulls out to the left-hand side as they approach turn 12 then, and he's well ahead before they reach the apex. So that's Team GG back into 9th position. And Van Leeuwen could well be just watching the rear of his car very quickly for that white and green flash, because Canzonieri is well and truly coming for him. And Van Leeuwen responds by setting the fastest lap of the race. There we go, but only a few hundredths quicker than Canzonieri.
Indeed. Looks like this guy's pace here is starting to, well, calm down a little bit now.
Yeah, 3 tenths slower than Ganlamatis on the previous tour.
You'd think he has to do a little bit more on this, unless he wants to take those hards to the end. But probably another 3 or 4 laps this Jernap will be wanting to do on these. But he has the gap to do it, for sure. And he'll have yet another undercut on those mediums to get it done. So might not be in the worst position possible.
Interesting, Oliver Taras is just pit. He did 2 laps on the hards, had that issue at the start, and then he's done 19 laps on another set of hard tyres. He's looked at what Peter Knapp's done and said, right, I'm going on the softs. So I wonder if that's going to cause a chain reaction here, because Knapp has really started a trend, and the others might decide that the soft tyres the one to be on, and that the hards, you're just losing time on them.
Yeah, it seems this has slowed down a little bit now. It's almost crazy in one way. The top 21 was within 1.5 seconds in qualifying. We are 38 minutes into this race. Look at those gap sets.
Cool. You say that, Nando Mars is only about 7 tenths behind Cedric Bill in the battle for 5th position. So Bill, who remember got an undercut on Marsa to gain positions. He's done 11 laps each on both sets of medium tyres. Marsa's only done 6 laps on this set because he started on the hards, of course, and did 16 laps on them. So Marsa really one of the ones making that sort of alternate. He's the only one really making the alternate strategies work for him at the moment, I suspect. Although Van and Hudding is also on the same strategy, it must be said.
Indeed, but yeah, looks like whatever momentum he had, gonna be dependent now on his exits here.
Yeah,
we'll
is he in DRS zone? Oh, I think it's just over 7 tenths, so he might be just a couple of a little bit shy, but he will get a little bit of slipstream. In fact, he does get DRS, so that will allow him to get even closer. And that's the way with DRS, that if you can get just within it, then you can claw closer and closer until you're close enough to make an overtake. That's the idea in principle, at least. But yeah, Marsa is really sizing up Cedric Bill here, and for Bill's championship here, he cannot afford to let easy positions slip away from him. But those mediums are well and truly past their peak then, so because he undercut in the first stint, he's forcing himself to extend in this one before he presumably goes either onto 2 sets of softs or 1 set of hard tyres and tries to get to the end.
Yeah, that's one good thing about this race, we can say at least. The variability we're seeing in the strategies, which we normally see in WC maybe, not in such short races like Academy, where it's usually 1, 2 stop, 2 compounds. We're seeing a mix of all the compounds today in different orders, making for at least an interesting showing, in theory.
And I think Nap gambling on the softs was the big surprise, and the one that's really made this race quite interesting, because it's sort of opened things up a bit for Gallimatis, who has been, in fact, Nap has been lapping a bit quicker than Gallimatis the previous lap, by about 3/10. So he has responded. So it'll be interesting to see if Gallimatis can claw things back, as Taras sits fastest lap of the race, 126.6, as he tries to chase down Hayden Cannon and get himself back into the points-paying positions. But here comes Massa with the DRS from a long way back, breaks deep into turn 12, gets the car turned in, and now pulls across ahead of Cedric Bill there. So very, very well judged from the Hungarian there. And Cedric Bill finds himself outmaneuvered and running out of tyres at this phase of the race. He could be into the pits before too long.
That was a send-it, wasn't it? I didn't think he could pull that off, but that braking performance was simply a very nice move from Nantor Marsa.
Yeah, and now he's in clear. It'll be interesting. 5.7 seconds to Van den Hudding, but I don't think Marsa's out of that 4th place battle just yet. I think if there's any trouble for Van den Hudding, I think Marsa will happily be through. And this is certainly one of his stronger performances of the season, Nandor Marsa. Like I said, he's not quite matched that 4th place he got in Bahrain since. But here he's really shown that he's lost none of that ability. He's certainly had his fair share of bad luck this season. And there's the only ground effect as well. You always got to feel sorry. And it's the same for Gerloff de Vries as well, for these what essentially are one-car teams in the Academy Championship. Because usually what happens is you learn a lot and work together with your teammates. You haven't got that buffer, then it can be a bit of a struggle. Gallimatis as well, another one really impressing today in a single car team for Netrex. He's been solo the whole season. It feels like all these solo drivers should join up together in their own team, in my opinion, but maybe that's just me.
Oh, as we've seen now that Olivier Taras has
Oliver,
yeah,
no.
What has happened there? Went into the pits. He just decided to call it a day there.
Well, he had just set fastest lap of the race, and oh
no,
lining up the rears as he just gets on the grass there. Yeah, I think he's definitely had enough at that point.
He is done. I don't think.
I think there may have been some damage that he had to repair, and he thought it wasn't really worth continuing, I guess, being so far down. And that, of course, gives Andrea Marizera and Hayden Cownan a clear shot at the final points position that they're battling over. Those two, the last drivers on the lead lap as well. As we see Gerloff de Vries make what could be his final pit stop as well. And unfortunately, it's a new driver. He has to go right to the end of the pit lane as well, just in front of the safety car. Or behind the safety car, I should say. And is de Vries putting on a 3rd set of medium tyres? He seems to really like these, doesn't he?
You think? Are you sure? Maybe there's just textures loading in wrong? I mean...
No, it's the hards. You're right, it's the hards.
Okay, this is the hards then, yeah.
On race view, it is definitely the hards he's running. Well, that should correct itself in a minute, but Gerloff was giving me a bit of a head scratcher there. The game was, not Gerloff's fault at all. He made his choice, and there we go. I think the game is just about to correct itself once he completes the first lap out of the pits. But Canzonieri, meanwhile, is catching Van Leeuwen, as we expected. But they have been matching each other's lap times, so Van Leeuwen might well respond here. We've seen some good pace from him at races like Singapore, so he could be very much an even match for Canzonieri in this battle. So Canzonieri, that spin early on again, has really created this butterfly effect in his race that's forced him to fight his way through the field, lose more time, essentially fighting back, and that was why he had to run 15 whole laps on the hards before he pit.
One question though, Peter Knapp, when is he gonna bite the bullet? When is he gonna come in? He's been on these tires for well, quite a bit. His gap is falling down to Gallimatis now, but also Gallimatis has been on the mediums all race, and it's very possible he's gonna go for those softs now to the end. That's the thing.
He did gain 6/10 the previous lap, Costas Gallimatis, so the Netrex is catching. Hayden Knapp is got to decide what to do soon. We did see de Vries go in for hard tyres. Is he going to do likewise now No, he's staying out then. So
It's-
surely he's extending for another set of mediums, Peter Knapp. But Gallimatis, he's not got that flexibility. He's got to either choose hards or softs.
So at this point, to be honest, 13 laps to go. How long has he been out on these? I think
13 laps.
He could take another set of softs in the end, and at this point, you'd think that's what Gallimatis is going to do as well. I mean, we've just seen it's possible. This is about where they drop off. If he comes in this lap, he's going to have an even shorter stint on these tires.
129.3 for Gallimatis, 129.8 for Peter Knapp as Cedric Bill comes in. There we go. So we saw him being passed by Massa, and he is going for the soft as well, interestingly. So I think Cedric Bill is going to try and gamble and do the last 13 laps on this set of tyres.
Looks like it. We've seen how strong that undercut is on these soft tires.
Oh, and is he going to come out ahead of Scarpelli? Yes, he is.
Oh,
Crucial for
that's
Cedric Bill
important.
there. But he's
That
in
is
between the two
important.
optiminals.
Indeed. Look at this gap, drastically falling down now. If I was Gallimatis, this is about when I'd bite the bullet, you know, if Peter Knapp doesn't come in. Take those softs and just go for it at this point.
Yeah, but he's seeing Peter Knapp struggle at the end of this stint. That might make him second guess here, but let's see what happens. It's a case of do whatever Peter Knapp doesn't
In
do.
he
Peter Knapp
goes.
comes in. So Gallimatis decides to stay out and reassume the lead then. So yeah, Peter Knapp, his lap times were just dropping like a stone, as you say, so he was sort of out of options. Now 12 laps to go then on the soft tyre, surely.
Is it now? It is. The softs once again. Assuming that's all loaded in correctly. You'd think Gallimatis has to respond at this point. Otherwise, he's just going to simply get undercut again, if he isn't already, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and if it finishes, by the way, Peter Knapp ahead of Gallimatis and then Brandfarm, then Peter Knapp will be just 1 point behind Brandfarm in the fight for the championship lead as Canzonieri comes in for his final stop. And he's going on another set of mediums, it looks like. And he started on the hards.
I am a bit wary of trusting the overlay today, but could indeed be the case.
That's what
here.
it says on Race View, so that tends to be slightly more accurate sometimes. Here's Van Leeuwen. He's caught up to the back of Riboli now, interestingly. Both of these drivers on 11-lap-old medium tyres, so Van Leeuwen has managed this very, very well. And of course, he knows Canzonieri has just pit, so he will have to respond to that. And he will get, hopefully, a little bit of DRS to help his cause as he fights behind Riboli.
As it looks like Scarpelli has now got a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Yeah. This has
him.
not been a brilliant race for Optimal eSports, has it?
It hasn't, but look at this run from Van Leeuwen now. No way Rivoli can fight this. Even before the DRS, right alongside. This is going to be done miles before the braking zone.
Yeah,
No
there
chance
we go.
for Rivoli.
And as Van Leeuwen does that, Gallimatis and Van den Hudding both pit from the lead, which puts Brandfarm into first place. As there we go, Riboli's had enough. He's pitting for his final set of tyres. Peter Knapp is going to come through and easily undercut Gallimatis then. So Gallimatis will have to hope there's a big drop-off there. There's Van Leeuwen. Crucially, he gets out ahead of him. So this actually worked out pretty well for Gallimatis. Oh, and there we go. De Vries round the outside of Andriy Harizoa, despite the fact that it's the Go team that has the DRS, not the Evo. So there we go. Must have been a bad run from the Madagascan driver as the Dutchman overtakes him for 12th place then. So good stuff from Gerlof De Vries. As, oh, look at that. Scarpelli follows in Andriy Harizoa to serve his drive-through penalty.
Yeah, unfortunate. Not even sure if he's going to score points here today. I mean, for an academy race, only 5 DNFs. Though this could still increase, obviously. It's quite small, actually. How many do we have in Singapore?
Well, Singapore was Singapore, so I'm pretty sure we had at least
fair enough.
10 or 15, about like just under half the field retired at Singapore, whereas this feels like the more standard academy where you see maybe 5 or 6 at most drop it off the road or get disconnected essentially. But here comes Bill then on his soft. He's caught up to Gitsov on the hards, and Gitsov is surely a sitting duck then as Brandfarm hits, and that's going to hand the lead back to Peter Knapp. as Bill goes up to 6th position.
Indeed. What tires is he gonna take now? Nah, surely that's wrong. 10 lap.
Softs.
There we go, the softs. Exactly. And Van Leeuwen has now also come in.
Yeah, so it'd be
Stay
interesting.
P3 there.
Van Leeuwen is probably going to come out behind Canzonieri then. So yeah, Brandfolm not really under attack from Van den Hudding, his teammate in the battle for P3. But Bill, interestingly, has been able to get out, I think, ahead of Nando Marsa by undercutting him, essentially. So that's actually a really good strategy from the Frenchman. And now that he's cleared Gitsov, he could potentially catch up to the back of Van den Hudding on those softs if he manages them well. 8 seconds is the gap at the moment. Whereas it's 2.9 seconds between Peter Knapp and Galner Martis. And remember, Galner Martis is on 1 lap fresher soft tyres, which could make the difference come the end as Marsa. Oh, struggling not to hit the back of Gitsov, and indeed he does hit it into turn 7.
Yeah, indeed he did struggle not to hit him. He does have the grip advantage. Definitely frustrating, losing him quite some time, but surely he'll get it done here. Especially out of this corner where the traction is so important on these fresher tires. Whoa!
Oh, they're being lapped as well. Oh dear.
Whoa, who is that off?
And that looks like Canzonieri having a go at Marsa now. So, yes, somebody, I think, was trying to unlap themselves, and that's why the blue flags are being shown. And Marsa sort of tried to move out of the way, and then just got barged into there, and has now lost the position to Canzonieri as he tries to think about counter-attacking up the inside there. But, yeah, Marsa, after all the hard work in this race, sees it coming undone almost in an instant there. I think that might have been Miriam. No, not Miriam. It might have been Hayden Cownan, actually, and some of the back markers there. De La Cruz and Demolians trying to unlap themselves.
That was scary. I did not expect that on the inside, but all ended up well. Just one car off the track.
Well, I think Nando Marsa might disagree with you there. That ended with him a place worse off. And now he's got Riboli on the soft tyres catching him too. So, yeah, this is probably less than ideal for Nando Marsa, and it puts him into a battle he really didn't want to be in, or wanted to be at the head of at the very least. Meanwhile, up front, Galner Martis sets personal best lap race 127.9. Peter Knapp sets a 128.5 then. So Galner Martis is pushing, but I think this charge might come a little too late to try and snatch the lead back again.
Someone who's in a good position, though, is the guy we're on board with, Riboli, you know? Because look who is at the helm of this train. It's Chris Gitsov from his own team. And right now, if I'm Massimiliano Riboli, what I'm telling Chris Gitsov is, Chris, hold them up. If you don't, you're fired. Okay, I wouldn't go
look
that
at
far.
this. They're all going to go 3 wide then.
Whoa!
As Marsa and Canzonieri go side by side with Gitsov into turn 12. And it's Marsa trying to make the double move past Canzonieri as well. But he's going to run out of space here. And indeed he does so. And has a little bit of grass cutting as well. As that's Gitsov doing a double move and barging into the side of Nando Marsa there.
Oh, that is teamwork. Teamwork makes
And he's
the
lost his
dream work.
front wing.
Has he?
Oh dear, so not the best from Gitsov there, I think, who got collected by Marsa. So I think the teamwork was working well up until that moment, but yes, Gitsov has to come into the pits. It's all just avoided by Van Leeuwen there. Great driving from the LR Conquest driver there to go around the outside, but wow, you've got to feel for the Bulgarian Gitsov, who's doing such a good job holding them up, and unfortunately just got bumped into by Marsa, who had been tagged into by Riboli.
I'm not sure. That was quite a send from Chris Gitsov on those older tires. That's something the stewards are going to have to look at. Seems I've got a knack for jinxing this, Ed. Just as I was talking about Chris Gitsov holding these guys up for Riboli.
Well,
not quite the way they would have wanted it.
In the words of Antoni Nicpon, indeed you do. So, but there we go. We look at Kritsov woundedly, trying to get his wounded car back to the pits is what I mean to say. And now Van Leeuwen has got a brilliant opportunity to get himself past Marsa, who just seems to be, he's been passed by Canzonieri, passed by Riboli, and now Van Leeuwen is going to fancy a shot at him as well with the DRS up the inside into 12. Marsa tries to brake late round the outside and hold his line, and Van Leeuwen is denied then into 13 and 14. So a good response there from Nando Marsa, tired of being bullied out of the way in this race, now starting to fight back.
Indeed, but this is the guy who has the momentum this race, making the moves, making them quite cleanly as well. Van Leeuwen and take a bow, he is doing a great race today so far.
He certainly is, but as we see Gitsov finally make it to the pit lane for a new front wing, and that's going to potentially drop him near the back of the point scorers, around about where Miram is, I think.
Indeed, but look, there is one place where the action is starting to get. Galen Amatis, 1.4 seconds off Peter Knapp, who does not seem to be gaining as much pace as he was initially.
Yeah.
There must be some unfound pace that Galen Amatis has on these tires, which, I mean, no wonder, these are the tires he got pole position on.
Indeed they are, but is he taking too much life out of them in the process? We'll have to see, as Peter Knapp, he is setting personal best laps of the race, but they are 10th slower. There we go, they cross the line, 128.2 for Peter Knapp, 127.7 for Galen Amatis. He is chewing up the distance between them on the tarmac here. 1.3 seconds the current gap then, so it's not too far before he gets into DRS zone, and this is not an ideal situation for Peter Knapp. And as we said right at the start of this about the championship, how hard will Peter Knapp fight here? Because this is the difference between being just 1 point behind Branfom going into the last 3 races and potentially being maybe further behind.
Indeed, it's going down. It's shifting, you know, it's shifting. Sometimes it's 1.1, sometimes it's 1.4. Yeah, well.
And what an opportunity for Galen Amatis as well, isn't it, Antoni? Because, as we said, he's really been one of the dark horses of the season, the sole Netrex representative. And Netrex have ever since Liam Howard moved up to pro, and even then I say moved up very generously because he's not done a whole lot of pro races, they've not had a whole lot to shout about in Academy, have Netrex. And it's great to see Galen Amatis flying the flag for the Italian team, the Greek driver. As we see Marsa has made a mistake into turn 7, has been passed by Van Leeuwen.
Indeed, what happened there to Nando Marsa? Let's see here.
There we go. Does he just go too deep? Goes onto the curb, and the back end lets go on him. Oh dear. He did well to hold on to it, but that's a place gone, and he's going to struggle to get that one back.
Indeed, but not in the grand scheme of things. Maybe 3 seconds, maybe lost 4. Could be worse. As now a good run from the Molians on De La Cruz.
Here we go. 2 drivers in the penultimate position in the race then, and Demolians uses DRS. Very clean move up the inside of De La Cruz. De La Cruz trying to hold on and do a ring of death around the outside, but unfortunately the LR car not able to respond to that one. And I think there's a bit of tyre life discrepancy here. 2 lap old tyres for Demolians and 6 lap old tyres for De La Cruz. But meanwhile, Galen Amatis set a purple final sector last time out. Another 10th gain on Peter Knapp. So Knapp is really having to fight back here. And Galen Amatis, this is where we see how much he's got left in the tank here, as he is really risking it over the curb actually into 9 and 10. That's how we saw Canzonieri spin out earlier, remember.
Indeed, but the gap has actually gone down from last lap. Could there be something to what you said, Ed, about just overusing those tires? Or is it just an off lap? I guess we'll see now as they cross the line.
We'll have to see. He was a tenth slower in Sector 1, a tenth quicker in Sector 2 was Galen Amatis, and now he crosses the line again. The gap still showing as 1.3, 127.8 from Peter Knapp, so he was keeping some pace in hand, and it's a 128.1 for Galen Amatis then. The gap 1.6 seconds according to RaceView, but 1.8 on the live timing there. So 4 laps to go, and Peter Knapp is just about keeping Galen Amatis at bay and at arm's length here. More than arm's length, I would have to say. Meanwhile, any other interesting battles of note going on? Itsov has been setting a personal best, unsurprisingly, on his new set of soft tyres. And he is closing down Persis Miram for 12th position. 12th would be a very good finish for Miram, actually. I think his best finish this season has been 2 11th places in Bahrain and Silverstone.
Indeed. De Vries, though, having a quiet race for the most part.
Yeah, he's actually used the hards quite well here, him and Phylan, in this final stint.
Yeah, and he has a good shot at the top 10 now as well. Not bad for his
2 tenths quicker than Phylan ahead of him, so he's not out of out of the running just yet. So it's been despite a shaky start, it's been a solid debut actually for Girls De Vries in Academy, and that will certainly. He wouldn't have been fighting for the top 10 if he'd been in pro, that's for sure. So great to see him rebuild his confidence, get some knowledge in his head, and use it to good advantage.
Indeed, now Scarpelli called up to the back of Andrea Harazoa.
Ooh, slower lap for Peter Knapp this time around, 128.9, so 6 tenths slower than Galna Martis. It seems Peter Knapp will have a push lap and then he'll go into conservation mode, just to make sure he's not left too vulnerable on the final lap here, once the tyre delta sort of catches up to him. Scarpelli now shadowing Andrea Harazoa. These two just staying on the lead lap, interestingly enough. So Kalman and Demolians have been lapped by Peter Knapp. And I wonder if any lap traffic could come into play here, because they are about, I would say, 8 to 9 seconds ahead of the leaders, these two.
I mean, this is the only interesting thing going on track right now. I think
Apart
we have
from
to
that lead battle, of course, which we'll keep you tabs on. Another 2 tenths gain from Galna Martis in the first sector then, as Andrea Harazoa fighting to hold on to 2 points here in the Academy Drivers' Championship from Domenico Scarpelli, who is a bit less experienced in FSR Academy, but certainly had some great runs in GPVWC Academy, actually. He's a race winner there, come to think of it, and he's competed a couple of races in FS2. I believe he's a team owner, funnily enough. Here we go. A little gap left by Andrea Harazoa into turn 1, but Scarpelli knows better than to go for that, because that's going to close. Van Leeuwen in 8th is setting personal best laps of the race as he tries to chase down Riboli. This is where we see the soft tyre runners might come into difficulties, depending on how much life is left in them, and the medium runners might be able to challenge here.
Yeah, not much. Unfortunately, I think what you said about the flip-flopping at the front happening again. Gap back up to 1.8 seconds. I think we have to take it for what it is.
I'm seeing Galna Martis gained another 3 tenths on the previous lap then. So, as you say, it's still in flux, and they set very, very similar first sectors there. This is all about Knapp making sure Galna Martis gets nowhere close to the DRS then. So the gap's still just over 1.5 seconds, and Galna Martis just doesn't quite have the pace that he did earlier, does it, at this phase? As now Scarpelli a lot closer to Andrea Harazoa through turn 11 they go. DRS wide open. Madagascan has to back off on the inside, unfortunately for him, and that promotes Scarpelli into 14th position then, as we cut to Van Leeuwen closing on Riboli, who perhaps has used the best of his soft tyres.
Yeah, when did Riboli go in for those?
9 laps ago.
Could still be alive, and you'd think Riboli is actually one of the drivers who is actually genuinely good on his tyres. But
yeah,
this
the
is
two
about...
drivers in most difficulty on the tyres at the moment are Cedric Bill, who's been on them 11 laps on the softs, and Peter Knapp, who's now has also been on them 11 as he starts lap 40. But he's so close to the end is Peter, as here comes Sander Van Leeuwen using the DRS to the outside of Riboli. He has to go the absolute long around, sweep across, and there we go. Job is almost done. He just has to complete the move through 13 and 14, and Riboli tries to survive around the outside, but is unfortunately blocked off. So good driving from Sander Van Leeuwen. Up into 7th place he goes. But Cedric Bill has been caught very rapidly, actually, by Canzonieri in the battle for 5th position. Remember, Canzonieri had that spin early on, was way down the pack, and now he's caught right up to Cedric Bill, one of his championship rivals, of course. So while Brownfall and Knapp are 1st and 3rd, these two have done well to get into 5th and 6th from where they qualified, especially Canzonieri on his comeback that we've seen a fair bit of, actually, on stream. But yeah, Canzonieri with the gap 1.4 seconds, in fact less than that now, so this could come down to a final lap pass between these two if Canzonieri is feeling brave enough on those mediums.
That is actually a quite race for Canzonieri then. I have not paid much attention to him. I remember that spin at the start, and now he's back up here. I mean, he pretty much the opposite of Van Leeuwen, who's been giving us so much entertainment today, but Canzonieri just a quiet, good race, actually.
Well, he did 15 laps on the hards at the start, 13 on the mediums, and he's now done 11 on the mediums as well. So, well, some have favoured the hards. Canzonieri's really got the most out of these mediums. Same strategy as Ruben van den Hudding ahead of him, actually.
Well, plus the spin. Almost the same strategy.
And look at this. 129.8 last lap for Bill, 128.5 for Canzonieri last lap. So surely as we start the final lap, he's going to be sizing up a move here. It's going to take something very special from Cedric Bill to hold him at bay here, as he's just got to survive for one more lap, and it could be another 5th place in a row. But Bill, unfortunately, could find himself being slowly played out of this championship, which is going into the hands of Brandfarm and Knapp, as the two will no doubt emerge 1 point apart from each other at the end of this one, as Gallimard is now 2 seconds behind Peter Knapp.
Yeah, I think he's just going to cruise to this. At this point, I think Peter Knapp, for him to lose this, how many corners to go? There's pretty much nothing now. Main overtaking spots out of the way, gap 1.9 seconds. I think Ed, you're about to be calling a 3rd win of the season for Peter Knapp.
Indeed. So he won in Australia and at the Hockenheim Ring. He was 2nd last time out at San Marino, but Peter Knapp gets his championship fight well and truly back on track now. It's going to be win number 3 here as he crossed the line first to take victory at Istanbul Park. The Turkish Grand Prix goes the way of Peter Knapp, and a best result of the season, 2nd for Kostas Gallimatis, who pushed him all the way. Brandfarm comes 3rd to hold on to the championship leaders. Canzonieri, used to the DRS, he's going to try and go around the outside of Cedric Bill on the final lap of the race, and he's done it there. A fantastic recovery from Giuseppe Canzonieri to finish 5th, despite a spin early in the race. Where might he have finished if that had not happened? Van den Hudding is going to come home in 4th on a good day for Valet, who maintained their lead, I believe, or closed at least on Go Team in the teams table. And there's Master, a lowly 9th in the end behind Riboli, as Filin, after a very messy race, is going to hold on to 10th from Gerloff de Vries, who nonetheless challenges at the end. Yes, I believe Go Team was 16 points ahead of Valet going into this one. And with Peter Knapp being a Gothenburg GP driver, this is a very good result for Valet. I think they may come away with the points lead in the team's championship.
Indeed. Miram now finishing in 13th. No, Gitsov, sorry, Miram in 12th.
Yep.
Scarpelli now coming across the last turn, and then Andrea Miharazoa as the last point scorer here today after a disappointing round for him. But yeah, take a bow. Peter Knapp for a 3rd time this season. The championship fight is well and truly back on. What to think what could have been if he attended the first round and not had that disappointing crash in Singapore.
Well, he's been doing such a good job that he may be able to steal this championship away from Brown Farm anyway, but we still got 3 more races to go and 75 points left to fight for. But yes, this has done Peter Knapp's championship a world of good, and I'm sure the Slovakian will be celebrating tonight after that one. A great performance then for Gothenburg GP, and I believe since Peter Knapp changed teams technically, that's Gothenburg GP's first victory of the season as well. If you want to get technical about it, say Persis Miram, despite not finishing too far up, he is celebrating a victory for his teammate technically. Kostas Gallimatis, best finish of the season for him. He takes 2nd, his 2nd podium of the season after Singapore, of course, going one better. Despite starting on pole, he did very, very well to stay with Peter Knapp and challenge him near the end. Dano Brandfarm, solid race for him, a little bit unspectacular in 3rd, but he did what he needed to do, held onto that position very, very well, ahead of his teammate Van den Hudding, who himself had a pretty strong performance to stay out of trouble in P4. Canzonieri from 22nd on the first lap to 5th. What an excellent performance from the Italian there, just to get to overcome Cedric Bill right at the end. And Bill, who had recovered well, still gets a top 6, but he's going to lose 2nd in the Drivers' Championship to Peter Knapp at the end of this one, and now sees Canzonieri closing on him as well. Van Leeuwen, great to see him back in the top 7 for, I believe, the 2nd time this season. He was 6th, of course, at the Hockenheim Ring. Massimiliano Riboli takes 8th, so a very good defensive race from Riboli, although Mando Massa might feel a bit differently at the end of this one in 9th position, having been barged out of the way by Riboli. Luca Filin Messy race, but he still comes away with a top 10 finish. So not too bad for the Super Swede. Gerlof de Vries on his first appearance recovers to 11th despite spinning into the gravel trap at one point. Persis Miram takes 12th for Gothenburg GP ahead of Chris Gitsov, who of course lost his front wing, and he ends up finishing 13th. Domenico Scarpelli, a slightly messy race for Optimal. He at least comes away with 14th position and beats Thomas Andrew Harazoa, who takes the final point for Go Team. Hayden Cownan just missed out on the points for Full Send Motorsport, but a finish for Hayden Cownan is a big positive for him and Full Send Motorsports. Olivia Demolians is 17th, Michael De La Cruz 18th, and Terry Crawford, the last of our finishers for SimSpark, in 19th, the Australian. Then our non-finishers, Oliver Taras, Matthias Micah. What could Micah have done today without that disconnection? Luca Viscott, Davide Zanini, and Mihailo Vincentievich, all for various reasons, did not get to see the checkered flag. So that's all our action from Academy today. So Academy will be back on the 16th of June in 2 weeks' time at Spa-Francorchamps, the legendary circuit in Belgium. But of course, we're not done with our FSR action tonight because we still got the Pro Championship coming up with Sergio Fletcher looking to hold on to that championship lead from Zoltzuks and Patrick Sevet, and of course his teammate Alessandro Maggio. And let's not forget after that, the World Championship, with all the action going on there and the championship fight between Yannick Bock and Owen McGorgy. But anyway, a final word then on Academy should go to you, Antoni.
Well, to be honest, this race a bit more disappointing than usual for Academy. Just wasn't enough DNFs today, I'm afraid. Clean race, probably a good thing this time around.
Indeed. Not enough DNFs. I think I like to view every DNF as a tragedy in its own way, rather than, it would have been more fun if more people crashed into each other. This isn't bumper cars, my friend. It's like sometimes watching Academy, you may be mistaken and given the wrong impression at certain races. But this, I think, was, as you say, one of the more cleaner ones. And Peter Knapp, a superb job by him today. His 4th podium of the season. And like you say, despite missing that first round of the season, his consistency and his speed both shining through. And Dano Brandfarm has got a major challenge on his hand to hold on to that points lead in these final 3 rounds. But that's all from us at FSR Academy. I've been Edward Hunter. He's been Antoni Nicpon. And thank you to you for watching and to everyone who put on such a brilliant show here in Academy. And we hope you enjoy Pro in just a few minutes' time, where we'll both be back to take you through all the action there. Bye for now.
Hello, I'm Jack Nichols and welcome to Home.
He's going to break Smith's world title.
But my God, he's done it! Look at these two go! He's going to do it! His first victory!
The World Championship is done.
What a race it's been!